I'm Serena Williams, and I'm healthier on Ro. I've lost 34 pounds in a year with GLP-1s, diet, and exercise. On Ro, you can access GLP-1 options, including the first FDA-approved GLP-1 pill for weight loss. Go to ro.co/journey to see if you qualify. 14 to 20% average weight loss in 1 year in non-diabetics with obesity or overweight with a weight-related medical condition versus 2.2% to 3.1% in placebo arm. RX only. To stay informed about serious side effects, go to ro.co/safety.
Crystal.
Joe.
I don't know why I did that. Do you want to hear a story about a family who went to Germany, Turkey, France, England, and Iceland all in one trip?
Yeah, is this where they kill the wicked witch? Does the house fall on the witch? No.
No,
it's a different story?
And it's also not the one
Okay.
where they go through the closet into Narnia. They don't do that either.
Oh, okay.
But they certainly did a lot of stuff. I was exhausted just hearing all those places.
Okay. Something new.
But they did it all.
Here
Well,
for
guess
it.
what? Adventurer John took his family on a vacation to remember this summer. This is an epic trip, everybody. We're going to hear the highlights, including how he planned, how he paid for it, what were the can't miss places, and all of these locations.
Ooh, I can't hear about it. But before we start, let's be real. Most travel gear out there is just plain awful. So that's why we are going to share our gear of the day at the end of this episode and every episode. So these are pieces that we've actually used ourselves, or they come recommended from fellow adventurers. So they're not some random thing you saw in a sketchy Facebook ad. If you want tried and true gear that saves you money, makes your trip smoother, and helps you adventure smarter and betterer. I just love that word, betterer. Check out our page at stackingadventures.com/gear of the day or GOTD. You'll be supporting the show and you'll be setting yourself up with gear that's Crystal Joe-alicious. Another new word. Look at me, lexicographer.
Boy, she's on fire, everybody. And while she is, Crystal, what's the magic word?
Let's get this show on the road.
Ready for adventure? From vacation to staycation, and from the mountains to the beach. This is the Stacking Adventures podcast.
Welcome back to another Stacking Adventures podcast episode. We head around the world with you, our fellow adventurers in the community, and we hear a story that is amazing, and we stack memories that we're going to remember forever. She's Crystal Hammond.
And I'm Joe. He's Joe. So let's get this show on the road. Did I say that already? I said
you already did, but it's always worth
Okay.
saying it twice, Crystal.
Let's get adventuring. How about that one?
You know what I like about this topic is a few things. We're going to hear from John a little bit about the idea of taking a sabbatical. And Crystal, I know a lot of people think that they can't, but over on Stacking Benjamins, we just did a show with our friend Jillian Johnsrud talking about, if you set it up right with your boss, you maybe can. And you know what? I think John's going to share. Well, we'll see what John shares, but I'm thinking that taking more than the traditional 5 to 10 days could pay big dividends for your sanity.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's a lot of people. Luckily, when I first started my job, our trainer told us, he's like, every December I save up my leave and I take the whole December off. And I was like, what? So that's cool. I've been meaning to do that, but I have not because I save my leave for when it's nice outside. So I do want to.
So you could take all the month of June off instead.
True. Maybe. I don't know.
So there you go. Now that you have all this inspiration, Crystal, you got to get started.
I know. I just I need a plan. I need the A through Z. So I'm glad we have John today. To tell us.
Well, we ready to meet him?
Yeah. I mean, tired of talking to you. Just kidding. I could never get tired of not even talking, listening to Joe.
Wow. Let's get rid of talking to me. Let's welcome Adventurer John to the show. How are you, buddy?
Hey, John.
Hey, man. Doing well. Good to see you.
So how long were you gone?
26.
26. So is 26 days, is it rejuvenating or is it hell on wheels when you're out that long with the whole family?
So the actual time off was great. I mean, and I think we've talked about, I've heard you talk about it before. I say we because we have this parasocial relationship where I listen to Stacking Benjamins and pretend that we're actually friends. The first week, you don't actually realize how much weight and stress you've been carrying until you've been really disconnected. And then it feels like you don't settle into, oh, this is actually free time that's rejuvenating until after that. But I will say 26 days was really long. I would not do that again. Right around the 3-week mark, everyone in my family said, I really just want my own bed. I really want to not, put the bag on and walk someplace else. So there's the sunk cost, right? You spent a lot of effort and money getting there, and you feel like, well, now I'm here, I need to maximize all of the time I possibly can. But it was overwhelming. It was awesome. It was cool. I'm really glad we did it. It was overwhelming.
I've told Cheryl on our vacations that she plans that are longer than 14 days. It's usually about day 11 or 12, John, that I look at her and I say, I love this. I'm excited about the next few days, but I'm also ready to go home. I'm
yeah, same.
Totally ready.
I think 10 days was my longest in Barbados. And I was like, do I ever want to be home from my bed for 10 days again? I don't know.
I don't know. It just gets to be the point that I'm a homebody. I just want to be home. But John, this isn't about
There's
me
the fun part.
and my mental problems. This is about you. So let's start off with the scope. Let's talk about where you plan to go and why you chose that plan.
All right. So I've got 4 kids, all teenagers. My oldest was going off to college. He's there now. He's like in 3 weeks. And so we had been planning a big family thing the summer before he leaves. Conveniently, my employer, every 7 years, we're allowed to take a sabbatical. And I started 7 years ago. So as soon as I started, my wife and I started thinking, great, in 7 years, that'll be before he goes to school. This will be awesome. We can do it. Turns out a lot of people started at the same time as me, and I didn't make the cut because there was a lottery system. But my boss is awesome. And so my boss, I talked to it. He knew that we'd been planning this trip for a couple of years out. And I called him up and said, hey, this was the plan. What's the deal? And he said, oh, it's fine. Like, you can't have your full sabbatical. Normally we give people 12 weeks. You can't have your full sabbatical. But he let me have the 4, basically. So there's a couple days of recovery when we got back. We left on a Monday, and then 4 weeks later I was starting again. So just time for the trip, not the full sabbatical.
And then where did you decide to go with these 4 weeks?
Yeah, so a lot of it was driven by the kids and their interests specifically. My oldest, he is really into World War II history. He really wanted to go to Germany. He wanted to see a concentration camp. There's a couple museums in Berlin that he was excited about, where they've converted a bunker and kind of turned it into the history of, the rise up into World War II and the aftermath. And he wanted to go to Normandy. That comes later in the France part. And the other part of it is that my kids are also nerds. And so they wanted to see a bunch of Protestant Reformation sites, and they wanted to go to the Gutenberg Museum, see printing presses and old books. So that was Germany.
That's awesome.
And then I've got 2 daughters, my number 2 and my number 4. They're way into Jane Austen and all things British, Downton Abbey, all the Pride and Prejudice. That's their sick movie. Everyone has a movie they put on when they're sick and they just want to lay on the couch and watch over and over and over. And they do the BBC Pride and Prejudice over and over and over. So they wanted to go to England, and then especially Bath, and then France was just kind of, what else could we do while we're here? My son, my second son, he's way into just kind of pop culture. He wanted to go see art and street musicians and a lively, active city. And then also everyone was fascinated with Mont-Saint-Michel. So we had to make sure that we hit Mont-Saint-Michel when we were in France. So
it's so beautiful.
So between those 3 countries, then we kind of had a roadmap of, okay, these are the places we wanted to go. If we divide it up roughly evenly, how could we make our way around, see a handful of different spots, stay in places along the way, a couple days at a time. I had this idea. I want to go someplace and stay for like a week, and I want to be a local. That did not work because we were go. But that was my motivation for it. And then my wife, she was happy to go along and just travel in general. She actually used to work for a company where she's been to India, Vietnam, Ecuador, Peru, Guatemala, Colombia. So she's been all over the place for work and hasn't traveled much recently as the kids got older. So this is just an opportunity for all of us to go together and try something. And then we threw in Iceland and Turkey just on a whim.
Countries is not enough.
Well, so you start looking at flights, and we're in Spokane. We had been in Seattle. We're in Spokane now. So our hub was going to be go back over to Seattle. And there's only a couple options to get over to Europe, and one of them is Iceland Air, and they throw in a freebie. You can stay for a day or 2 for no extra charge, other than you got to figure out what you're going to do when you're in Iceland. And we said, well, we're never going to go to Iceland otherwise, so we may as well do it. And then similarly, we thought we were going to go Germany, France, England, home. But the tariffs and the taxes to fly in and out of the UK are really horrendous. It was going to be like $1,200 a person for us to fly home from Heathrow, but to come home from Charles de Gaulle, it was about half of that via Istanbul, and you can stick around for an extra day if you want to for basically no charge. So again, why would we not go to Istanbul? So let's go ahead and throw that another trip too.
Was that with Turkish Air?
Yeah, that's Turkish Air. And
yes.
Actually, they've got another deal where if your trip goes through, what is it? If it goes through Istanbul both ways, their tourism board will even subsidize up to 2 nights in a 4-star hotel.
Wow.
We did not get that deal, but they really want to incentivize people stopping by and spending money.
Yeah, the prices. Cheryl and I did part of that trip, John, which was the Iceland part where we spent 24 hours in Iceland. And I got to tell you, Crystal, they make it worth your while by just making that flight so cheap. Yeah. The flight is so inexpensive when you just spend 24 hours in Iceland. Now we did a very quick road trip out into the hinterlands, saw some of the Game of Thrones stuff and saw a really cool waterfall. And then I remember coming back at midnight to our hotel in Reykjavik, and you could see cars coming for like, I swear to God, like 45 minutes, maybe an hour. You could see, and I couldn't believe that you could see that far, but we'll hear more about that from you, John, in a second.
I did the same for
did you?
The Iceland, my solo trip to Paris, but I just did 18 hours. So I just bought on Iceland Air a $99, like a 10-hour tour. And so the last stop was the house. So I was like, I get to take a shower and everything too. So that's how I did it.
That's perfect when you end with the bath.
But it was cheap too. Like you said, it was a good price on Iceland Air. All right.
So you're going to all these places. How did you begin to plan? Like, what were your favorite resources as you're in planning mode?
So we love all the random travel shows on Netflix and Prime. So that's always like kind of going in the background as, you know, people have background music. We have travel shows on. So there were little inklings of ideas that we've been picking up, and we started thinking about this really in earnest probably last December. So we didn't start buying tickets until maybe March, but we'd been kind of just stewing on it. We got a bunch of Rick Steves books, other travel books. One of the teachers at my kid's school grew up in England, and so she had lots of ideas and gave us some tips for England. And then actually, so we've been married for 23 years. We did our honeymoon in England, and so part of the reason for going back to England was for us to go back and see some of the same things again and bring the kids along for it. So we had kind of a kernel of what we wanted to do in each of them, and then part of it was motivated by the kids. So we kind of let them niche down on the thing that they were interested in. So we handed a stack of books to each kid and said, read through this, like find things that you want to do. My wife had done a couple exchanges in France, so she had a pretty good handle on what she wanted to do when we were in France. And then otherwise it was just driven by individual interest. And okay, well, you want to do that and you want to do that. How are we going to get from there to there? Are we going to have to rent? Are we going to train? And then just kind of piecemeal it together the whole trip.
Was there any stuff that didn't make the cut?
Let's see. I mean, the girls would have loved to go up into Ireland and Scotland, and there was no way to make that fit.
Yeah.
So that's going to be a separate trip. Actually, my daughter's probably going to get to go visit one of her teachers who's getting a master's in Edinburgh. So, so she will get her trip out of the deal probably later this year. But let's see what else. I think that my son would have loved to have spent more time exploring Germany, but we were there for 8 days. Like it felt like enough time.
Still.
And then, like I said, I wish that we had more time to be leisurely and just, you know, feel more like we were settled and like we were local and explore individual neighborhoods. So that didn't happen. There was a lot of just kind of go and pack it in.
I feel like when you're going to that many places, though, this is almost like a recon trip, John, where everybody's kind of going to
go back to.
Yeah. But yeah, you're hitting greatest hits on this trip. And then, you know, we're going to head to Italy, not next year, but in 2027. And the first time we did it with Disney. And this time now we're not doing it with anybody because we're just going back to the places we thought were killer. Were just fantastic. Did those Rick Steve books, by the way, I noticed the fact that you said and other books and shows, But I got to tell you, for me, those Rick Steve books are really good. They're a cut above many of the other ones. It sounds like you must agree.
Yeah, they are really good. I think the other ones that we found were really just, well, you know, should we get someone else's opinion, like to get a second take on it? But I spent 25 years in the Seattle area. Rick Steves came and talked at my college. Like, he's just north of town. So he's someone that's been familiar with us and we've interacted with over the years. And he's been on the local NPR station talking about travel. Heard him for years and years. So he's definitely a trusted source. And you could get by with just that. That's pretty much all we used when we planned our honeymoon 23 years ago.
When we were in Rome, Crystal, he told us in one of the books, in one of the squares, he said, don't go to any of these gelato places because they're going to be okay. They'll be fine. If you go to these gelato places, they're fine. They'll be a little more expensive and the gelato isn't as good. He goes, the place to go, if you go out the north end of the square and hang a right and go down 2 blocks, like, he was very specific.
Yeah.
This place here is fantastic. And it was funny because, man, we got to this place and it was the place the locals knew, to your point, John, about wanting to be a local, because there was a line of people and we were the only people speaking English in this particular line, where inside the square, it was, a bunch of multicultural tourists that were there. All right. So let's take off on the trip. Oh, before we do that, did you have points? Did you use points? Did you pay money? Like, how did you get it done?
Like I said, we've been planning this trip for a while, so we'd been setting aside a couple $100 a month for years. But also, I started playing the point game maybe 4 or 5 years ago in earnest. So we'd collected a lot of Chase points, Capital One points, we had Alaska Travel points, we had Hilton points, we had Marriott points, and we definitely leveraged that primarily for flights. We paid for our flight from Charles de Gaulle through Istanbul back to Seattle. Everything else we were able to leverage points on. So definitely covered a big chunk of the travel.
And then you mentioned, we spoke beforehand, that you used the travel portals to buy those, the individual credit card portals.
Yeah. And I know, I listened to Chris Sessions. I know that's probably not the best way to use points, but it worked and it was easy. So that's what we did.
Well, I think there's 2 sides to it. Number one is, a lot of the time, like Capital One or Chase will give you bonus points for using their travel portal. So you get that plus. The downside for me isn't so much the points, and I'm not the super hacker that Chris is. Sometimes it makes me roll my eyes how much time people can spend on this stuff. But without spending that much time, the thing I like about not doing that is, if I've got a problem and I book directly through Alaskan Air or directly through American, man, they just treat you so much differently than when I book through the portal.
That's true. We did not have any issues on this trip, although like 2 weeks after that, my wife and I had a separate issue, and Chase was definitely no help on that one.
It's so frustrating. Yeah.
And you booked in March. So when did you head out?
So we left on July 7th.
Okay, so that's pretty kind of recent.
Yeah. We basically, we had July 4th holiday weekend, and then we packed and prepped Saturday, Sunday, and then left Monday morning.
Speaking of packing and prepping, though, like, teenage whisperer, like, how much did you pack? Because I heard you say something about 1 bag, and I'm like, how?
Yeah. So this was my wife's idea. And wisely, she thought about, well, we're moving around from this hotel, hopping on a train, going staying at this Airbnb for a couple of days, then we're going to go fly over to this other country. Being as consolidated as we could made the most sense. So she got the idea, well, we're going to do 1 bag travel. I don't know how, but we'll figure it out. And so one of the things we did, maybe back in February, we started watching a ton of YouTube videos reviewing backpacks, and we made the kids watch them with us. And everybody got a new backpack that was the backpack that they thought would make the most sense for the way they wanted to pack and travel. So everyone, and they were, I think my daughter, my 14-year-old, hers was like a 35-liter North Face. I ended up with a 45-liter Peak Design. My wife got a Tom Talk. My son had a Timbuktu. Like, everyone picked the one that was the thing that they felt would make the most sense for them. But part of that, I feel
like you could have your own. Wait a minute, John. I feel like you could have your own travel channel where you guys, you're like Len Penzo, taste testing all the different ice creams.
Well, there's people better than me that have already done all that. We just learned from them. But I think part of it was getting them. Oh, you get a bag. Like, you're all in. Like, we get them committed to it so that they were on board. And then we did the packing cube thing, bought a bunch of packing cubes, and kind of talk them through how to think about a capsule wardrobe. So we didn't pack you had 6 days worth of clothes. And then we had to think about where we're going to be and are we going to have laundry service where we are so that we could stagger that out and make it work. But basically, everyone had a pair of sandals or flip flops, and then a pair of good walking shoes, and then one pair of long pants. And girls had skirts, boys had shorts, t-shirts that were all interchangeable, But yeah, we just talked them through how to be as lean as we could. For reading material, everyone got to bring a book, but it had to be a book that other people would want to read so that if you finished it, you could hand it off.
Pass them around.
Right.
Rather than bringing,
club.
No one child gets to bring all volumes of Lord of the Rings or something like that, but try and be as lean as we could be with what we were traveling with. And it was great. It was not having to deal with check bags. Although some of those European carriers, they tell you that they want really small bags. And we definitely kind of, stood with our backs to each other so they couldn't quite tell how big our bag was as we skirted past them. It was never a problem once you got on the plane, but they definitely were stopping other people and making them check their stuff. And that would have bit us if we got stopped, for sure.
That is a great point, though, because in Greece, on our way to Greece, we were warned that the Greek airline we were going to fly between islands had a lot smaller bag limit than when we were getting there. So sure, I could get my stuff to Greece, but it was going to stay in the first hotel. It wasn't going to come with us because there was no way it was going to go on the plane. So our constraint, to use the engineering term, was the middle of the trip, not the sides.
Well, that is something we never think about, the other countries' bag sizes and restrictions. That is something to look out for. All right, let's land at our first stop in Germany. Like, what happens when your feet touch ground there?
Well, first of all, I will say that's the place that we were most worried about from a language perspective. It's a foreign language. I don't know if you know that. I feel like we could get by in Spanish. My wife, she lived in France for a few months, a couple different times. I took French in school, and I can fake my way through that. But Germany felt scary from that perspective. But there's signs everywhere in English, and you can hold your phone up and translate and all that. It's not the big deal that we thought it was going to be. And I feel like that was probably one of the places where we had the best accommodation. Once people knew we were from America, they were happy to speak English with us. But it went well. So we landed, figured out how to get to the train, the Hauptbahnhof, and then into downtown, and then figure out where our hotel was. Stayed in a hotel in Berlin those first couple nights. And I got to tell you, part of the strategic method for planning was if we were staying in a hotel, it had to be a hotel with a free breakfast because I know that my boys will maximize the value of that.
Teenage boys.
Oh yeah, the breakfast sandwiches that were, it's like, the old Scooby-Doo where like they make the sandwich this tall and they tie it down with string. Yeah, right. They were definitely doing that. And then we brought, actually, Crystal, you mentioned it on the last episode that aired, the reusable like snack bags.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
We had a bunch of those, and they would pack themselves extra.
Nice.
They would pack themselves lunch with stuff from the breakfast buffet.
Perfect.
So most of the time we ended up not needing to go out for lunch when we were in Germany because we maximized the breakfast and then snuck out with lunch.
We're not going to be able to go over every step of the tour in the remaining 40 minutes. So let's do this game. Let's play a good, a bad, and I would have done it differently. So out of all the places you went, what was the good? What was the great in Germany?
One of the coolest things we did was the tour of the Reichstag building, which is the head of the German, I guess it's parliament, rather German government. It's a 300 or 400-year-old building that's been blown up and rebuilt multiple times, but they've got this amazing glass dome over the top with this really cool artistic sculpture, but it's mirrors. And then there's an open roof in the ceiling. And the idea is that light will come and reflect down onto where all of the legislatures are meeting. But philosophically, anyone is welcome to go. And the public is always looking over the shoulder of the people making their laws is the idea. But there's these path walkways up through this dome that spiral up and spiral down with an audio guide of the entire city. You're up 7+ stories effectively looking down all the way around, and they kind of walk you through different landmarks and history of the space. It was just a really great overview of Berlin. And then directly after that, we actually went and did a Rick Steves tour that started at the Brandenburg Gate. The Audio Europe has a bunch of free tours in it, so everyone just put in their earbuds and we all hit play at the same time, and it guides you walking along and look over here. And Joe, to your point about the ice cream shops, there's one point where he stops and like, oh wait, I want you to turn to your right. At the third door over, that's actually a bank and it's a public lobby and there's an amazing sculpture in there. You definitely need to go look at it. Like, you'd never know to go walk into a random building. But yeah, his tips just kind of to explore the little nooks and crannies that you wouldn't otherwise see were great. So yeah, Reichstag tour and then the Brandenburg Gate, kind of that promenade. That was awesome. The bad, I will say, when we stayed one night in Mainz, which was its own town originally. Now it's basically a suburb of Frankfurt. And we picked the hotel specifically because it was close to the Gutenberg Museum. And it was a nice old building. But when we woke up in the morning, my wife saw roaches. So that was gross. Yeah.
Other countries.
So it was like, it was fine.
It's not a big
It was
deal
fine, but
to
it's
them.
like, as we were leaving, it did not leave a good feeling.
Do you think that's the town? Was it just a rundown town, or was that particular place?
It felt like it was that neighborhood, just that stock of buildings and what was there.
Yeah.
Damn.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, well. And then what will we do different in Germany? We had kind of a whirlwind tour. So we were in Berlin for 3 days and then drove down. We had one night in Heidelberg, and then we had a stopover for the day in Nuremberg over to Heidelberg. No, I'm sorry. Yeah. Wait, no. Oh, I'm getting my cities mixed up. Anyway, point being, there's all these cool little towns, cool castles and old clay structures. And after the war, Germany basically decided that we're either going to start over fresh and be a modern place, or we're going to double down on our culture. And every town kind of did a different thing along those lines. But I wish we spent more time exploring those older places. We got a little taste of it, but we didn't spend as much time exploring ruins and castles and old towns with windy streets and just enjoying what it used to be.
Nuremberg gets very high marks from other people.
Yeah, it's adorable.
That's a place that people say, I wish I could spend more time there.
Yeah. They even have a bratwurst museum.
What could be wrong?
All right. And then you that is funny.
As if I need more encouragement.
Having a family of 6, you did rent a car? I think you said something about driving.
Yeah, so we rented in Iceland for the day. We rented in Germany when we were driving between Berlin and then over to Frankfurt, where we flew out. And then we rented in France. And the driving on the Autobahn, reading German signs, is awful.
Oh.
I did drive a stick growing up, so that I wasn't worried about the driving a manual, but we figured it out, but it was not pleasant, to just jump right into that. Iceland wasn't bad, France wasn't bad, but it was a little bit of a shock in Germany. But I will say, and this is one thing that I warned you, I don't know if you wanted to fit this in later, Joe, but I'll say it right now. We had this brilliant idea that we weren't going to have cell coverage when we went to Europe. Because we have a discount plan in the US that doesn't have a great travel coverage. So we figured we would just get a data SIM so that we could navigate and we could look stuff up.
Yeah.
And but we weren't going to be able to have a phone number. We weren't going to be able to call. And our car in Iceland broke down about an hour and a half outside of town, just on a rural road. And we had to wait to flag someone down to use their phone to help us get connected to their highway people, who could then call Enterprise and figure out how to get us a replacement car. I've never had it before. I mean, it just started flashing and beeping. Pull over now, imminent engine failure. And we're like, what does that mean? So that was nerve-wracking. I know other people who have traveled and done it this way, and everyone's got a WhatsApp. You can just call through data. Well, not everyone does, and I wouldn't do that again. I would make sure at least one of us has an actual cell number and ability to call.
It's funny, and I also like the cautionary tale about the Autobahn, because one thing that Cheryl and I did when we did our trip down the romantic road through Bavaria was we actually took a couple days to practice what the signs would say as we're driving along, like some of the key words, that we were looking for. And we still got frickin' lost like 8 times. There was one time that we're driving along and we're trying to follow our GPS, which is horrible, as you're going down these rural German roads. We ended up at some farms in their driveway, pretty much. And they're sitting on their porch, by the way, staring at us. These German people, as these idiot Americans are just driving up to their house. And my GPS says I need to drive through their front lawn to keep going.
Nice.
My goodness.
Yeah.
So you did the Michael Scott thing and you did it, right?
Of course. Not like I'm going to ever see him again, John.
It says go straight.
I don't need any more German friends. Oh, that's horrible. So let's move on. So so then next, you went to Turkey then on your way.
Turkey was the end.
Yeah, on your way home. So next you went to England. Okay.
Yeah.
So twice across the channel.
Yeah. Short little flight from Frankfurt. That was easy. And then, obviously you can navigate in England. Hopefully you can read those signs. Easy getting around. Love the tube. We had an awesome penthouse apartment just south of the Thames, right in the middle, kind of by Elephant and Castle. It's perfect location. We walked everywhere. It was actually funny when we got back, our phones were all telling us, you've only walked 900 steps today. This is lower than your recent averages.
Recent 9,000, 9 million steps.
We were my son and I were competing. We were coming in around 28,000 steps a day.
Nice.
Wow.
I love it.
That's
so
awesome.
we had 5 nights in London. And then one of those days we actually used to do a day trip out to Oxford, just on the train. But yeah.
And you made a trip to Bath, right?
Yeah, so after London, we had 2 nights in Bath, took a train out to Bath and did the Roman baths thing, did the Jane Austen tour. The mayor organizes free walking tours every afternoon. He's got local docents that have lived there for 30 years that take you around and show you stuff. It was amazing. It's an adorable town. I'd highly recommend Bath.
We want to ask you some specific questions about that. We're going to get back at it. But the music's coming up right now, guys, which means, Crystal, it's time for our gear of the day.
Yes, and that's my cue that I'm missing right now.
And there it goes.
So we're halfway through today's show, so that's our road trip pit stop. So on the pit stop, you're always dreaming about what's at the end of the adventure. How cool will it be when we get there? Are we there yet? Is running through your mind. It's traipsing through your head. So our pit stop is always a hint at our gear of the day, and then you can see past gear of the day, gears or gear, at stackingadventures.com/GOTD. So today, our lovely guest, John, has our hint. So John, what is our hint?
It is something that helps you get where you're going.
Okay.
That helps me get where I'm going.
Okay.
Shoes. It's going to be shoes, Crystal.
Feet.
Feet.
Two left feet.
John recommends taking feet on your tour, if possible. If not, then, there's other ways. But all right, we'll actually formulate a real guess for John in just a moment. We'll be right back.
There it is.
All right, John said, that's a lame hint, John.
You want another hint?
Say yes.
All right. Something that helps you enjoy people watching and your surroundings.
It helps you get where you want to go.
Binoculars for birds.
Yeah, but how does it?
Feet get you. Compass? Nope. Listeners, the funny thing is he kind of texted it to us unless he changed it, and we definitely forgot.
This is horrible.
A few minutes ago. Quick, what'd you have for breakfast? Because I don't remember what I had.
He gave us like 5, Crystal, and we're like, don't tell us. And then
we read
totally
it,
forgot all of them. It's probably on the list.
I can't even think of one of those things on the list.
All right. We'll formulate a plan,
shoes.
Crystal. Yeah, we'll formulate a plan during the second half. But let's get back to London, because John, my first experience in London was 100% horrible. It became very quickly my least favorite city. Very quickly after 3 horrible experiences in a row. Tell me yours was better.
It was better. There were some rough experiences, but it was still better than yours. The biggest thing that we ran into is, and not that you can control this, but there were a lot of protests, and the city was kind of in lockdown. There was police everywhere.
They're protesting John's family being there?
Yeah, that must have been
the teenagers are eating the food.
When we were there before for our honeymoon, we had a lot of luck with hop-on, hop-off buses. You go around once, you listen to their spiel and kind of get a lay of the city, and then you can walk all over and, here comes one, let's get on real quick, and we'll get off the next stop. We know exactly where that is. Well, the whole city, everything was in gridlock. They were routing across the Thames and around, like nothing was going where we wanted to go in the time schedule we wanted to get to. We totally missed getting to Westminster because it was closed by the time we got there. It was just awful. Not that you can do anything about that, but it was not pleasant.
So let's take London is different than the rest of England. Maybe include Oxford here, but what's the good, the bad, and I do it differently?
So the good was St. Paul's Cathedral, doing the tour is awesome. We got to go all the way up to, I forget what they call the gallery up at the
I
top
was
where you
going to
go
ask that.
outside
Yeah.
and you can
Yeah.
see all the way around. Don't do it if you're afraid of heights, but it's pretty amazing. And again, it's a great way to see kind of like the rock sanctuary I mentioned in Germany, just being above everything and kind of getting an idea of what the lay of the land is. That was awesome. I would, as far as the bad, I think just the conditions there. It was also rainy, and we learned that all of our rain jackets, they've lost their waterproof.
No.
We were soaked. We briefly considered, like, could we go find a store to buy new North Face jackets or something that we know would work? But no, we just toughed it out. But we thought we were prepared. We were not prepared.
No.
I like
And
shopping.
then but when you want to be sightseeing, shopping, going to the mall is
true.
not actually awesome. And as far as what we do different, this is one of the cities where we did get one of those combined passes for the museums and the different attractions, and it was fine. It worked out, but we didn't use as many as we thought we were going to. Part of it just kind of as a function of it was harder to get around the town than we thought because of the way that things were rerouted and things were shut down. We did the eye. The eye is cool. You wait in a line for 2 hours. That's kind of lame, but it is a good view of the city. There's a handful of other things that were like, I could have left that alone. I probably didn't need to do that.
That's funny.
The
I
British
thought the eye
Museum's
was
amazing.
I thought the eye, John, was about a 6, just like you. 6.5 on a scale of 1 to 10. It was all right.
It's all right. Yeah. Went to the British Museum. So my wife, she used to teach ancient history and literature. So she was excited to see the Rosetta Stone and the Hammurabi Stele and the big or the Babylonian lions, the gates, they've got, and there's a bunch of stuff that she was very, very excited to see. So that was really fun for the kids. And she's actually taught 3 of the 4 of them in her class. So they also knew all about all of the ancient history. So they nerded out on that. Yeah,
I think
it was
for
wonderful.
us too, just to second that, the British Museum was amazing. Was just absolutely amazing. It's so huge. I mean, and trying to see everything, I think, we dedicated maybe 3 hours, and you can't see hardly anything in 3 hours in the British Museum.
Yeah. When we went to Oxford for the day, again, because my kids are way into literature, we got a tour of C.S. Lewis's house at the Kilns. That was great.
Nice.
And then we just kind of wandered around the various colleges at Oxford. We were poking around at St. John's College. They happen to have, most of the places, their grounds they charge a couple pounds to go in. But for whatever reason, that day St. John's was free. So we were wandering around, and we just poked our head in this corner down a stone corridor. And there's this amazing old chapel, like stonework, wood from I don't know how many hundreds of years ago. We'd just come from seeing the Divinity School at Oxford, which is one of the oldest classrooms there, that they charge you I don't know how many pounds to go see it. And it's a big room. But this was cooler, and there was no one in it. And I just peeked through the window. I said, "Oh, that's amazing." As I said that, one of their groundskeepers walked around the corner. He's like, "Oh, you want to go in?" I'm like, "What?" He's like, "Oh yeah, it's actually unlocked." So he walks us in and shows us around, shows us the things that he thinks are really interesting. And actually, we want to see something really cool. All the way back in the corner, some guy like 80 years ago gave a bunch of money to the school on the condition that we would put his heart here. So there's a silver urn with this guy's heart.
Wow.
That's my favorite part about this chapel. And I'm like, stuff like that you would never know unless you talk to someone.
A heart?
I had a great experience in the Gutenberg Museum too, talking to a security guard, and he seemed so excited that someone was not ignoring him and was actually engaging him. It was fantastic.
That's why it's so much about the people. When we interviewed travel expert Joseph Rosendo, he kept saying it's about the people, not the places. Like, talk to as many people as you can.
Well, even the staff too, because the last time I volunteered for the wreath removal at Arlington Cemetery, and one of the park rangers was like, "Oh, let me know if you have any questions." And I, gave him eye contact. I was like, "Oh, thanks. We don't have any right now." That he had diarrhea of the mouth after that. Like, he talked our heads off. I think we were the first people to give him eye contact, but I'm telling you, like, probably an hour, he talked to us and showed us things. So yeah,
wait a minute, wreath removal. How do you sign up for that, Crystal?
It's volunteer, like, because the one part of the year they laid down the wreaths, and then we have to pick them all up. But we got there at like 11, and they had already finished. Like, so we were just there to walk around because they get up super early to be first to do it. But it's fun. That's a fun thing to do. I was going to say,
what a powerful emotional place to be. Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you get out to Bath? Because Bath, my understanding is, I mean, we drove, but you said you didn't have a car when we went to Bath.
Yeah, no, I wasn't going to drive. I wasn't going to drive in England on the wrong side. That freaked me out too much. No, just the rail, Great Northern Rail. I think we reserved that ahead of time, but it was relatively inexpensive and maybe a 2-hour ride, and it was
not
beautiful
bad.
Countryside. Yeah.
Yeah. And then Beth, you mentioned the Roman ruins. And
Yep.
how was the Jane Austen house?
My girls thought it was amazing. It was fine.
Well, it's funny you say that. It's funny you say that, John, because this is what happened when I went to the Jane Austen house. Cheryl told me and our kids, you won't appreciate it. So why don't you guys go walk around while I go in by myself? Because she didn't want to pay 4 entry fees for one person that would appreciate it. So I saw it, but I never went inside.
So I will say the Jane Austen house, it was not terribly impressive. But in Bath, there is a fashion museum. And it's closed right now. But we went when we were on our honeymoon, and I thought it was going to be the stupidest thing in the world. And I was, freshly married by 6 days or whatever. And I'm going to humor my wife. We're going to go to this dumb museum. And it was amazing. It was so cool. And I was so bummed that it was closed because I really wanted all of my kids to see it. It's the history of fashion for the last 600 years or something like that. And it's, different outfits and how different things worked, why they used buckles for this and ties for that. It's amazing.
Is it just being renovated? Is it reopening?
Yeah. It's just under renovation.
Go to that.
That sucks, though, that your timing didn't work out. Yeah, that's totally on your list, Crystal. I mean, Crystal's all about. Yeah, that is 100% knock it out of the park for Crystal. All right, let's go back across the channel.
So my do different or / terrible for France is we did do a passenger overnight ferry across the channel.
You wouldn't do that.
I would not do that. No. I mean, we told ourselves, it's basically going to be like a cruise, right? No, it smells like diesel and it's loud. And we didn't get into our berths until almost 11:30. And then they woke us up with lovely harp music at about 5:30 a.m. as we were pulling into port. Granted, 5:30 a.m. is actually 6:30 because you're going back an hour. And then I had to be awake and get a car and drive to Mont Saint-Michel after sleeping horribly and not enough. And it's an experience. I mean, I can say I've done it. It wasn't expensive, but what we told ourselves is that it was also covering a night of lodging. So we could roll it into, we could kill 2 birds with 1 stone. And so to us, it seemed like it made sense. And I wouldn't do it again. It was fine. We stayed at an Airbnb in Bayeux, and we were talking to our host about it. And she's from England, and her husband's from Bayeux, and she was laughing at how awful it is and how she and her husband used to take it back and forth all the time. So she knew exactly what we were experiencing and agreed with us that it's no fun.
No. Well, before we get into good, bad, ugly, I want to hear specifically about Mount Saint Michel because this is for people that don't know, this is an island. You've seen pictures of it. There's no way you haven't seen pictures of this beautiful place. Does it live up to the postcard though?
Yes, absolutely fantastic. And we actually got the tip from one of the Rick Steves books that we read to stay the night on the island.
Wow.
It is from a tourist perspective, during the day, it is terrible. There are, I don't know how many thousands of people in, 8-foot wide streets that shouldn't fit that many people, but it clears out after dinner time. And you're left with really just the people who are lodging on the island. I think there's 3 hotels with, 10 to 12 rooms apiece. There might be 200 people on the island as the sun is going down, and you kind of have the run of the place. So you can get up on the old ramparts and explore all the little nooks and crannies, stairways that are like 2 feet wide and go up somewhere. Where does that go? I'm going to go check it out. It's amazing. And then same thing in the morning. Oh, there we go. Thanks, Joe.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So same thing in the morning, you have the run of the place before the tourists start showing up. And then the Abbey up at the top is a fantastic tour, and they do a great job of wanting to. We actually, so my family, not only are we nerds, we also all sing. And so there's a song that there's a song the kids did at school, the Franklin Songtus. So when we were in the Abbey, we found one little nook, and we sang it as a family, the 6 of us. And we were just looking up at the stained glass, and we turned around, and there's like 60 people all there with their phones out recording us. And then one of the security guards came over to us and smiled at us politely and said, "Stop." So,
really? Did he call you the Von Trapps?
He did not. No, he was very nice about it, but he also made it clear that we definitely broke a rule.
Couldn't do it.
Okay.
We had something similar in Greece. It's wild how mores are, because you think they would appreciate that and they would like it. When we were at one of the temples in Greece, we wanted to do kind of a creative postcard of us like pretending we were Greek gods. And the woman came over and told us in no uncertain terms how disrespectful we were being. And that we needed to pay more respect to this ancient, religious stuff. And so it was not good. So there you go for singing. And you thought you sang great in the shower.
Yeah. I mean, it sounded amazing.
Yeah.
I'm sure that those people enjoyed it, but
if you don't say so yourself. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. Well, it's an old abbey, right? It was designed for monks to sing in it. That's
sure.
the goal. Yeah.
I had to, by the way, Crystal, put those pictures up for you because I didn't know if you've seen this place before.
No, I hadn't.
It's so flipping beautiful. My niece has gone there. I've never been. I can't wait.
I'll say as an aside, it's probably the closest you'll ever get to like being in Hogwarts. Just the old, cool, bumpy roads, lopsided signs, old tavern in the corner. I've joked with my wife that if I lived in LA, I would have a season's pass to Universal Studios and I would just go work out of Hogwarts at Universal Studios. I love it. It's amazing. So this very much scratched the itch for me and the kids.
Closest place. Cool. We should do this in the Ventures Clubhouse. What's the closest place to Hogwarts that you've been outside of Universal Studios? Because mine is that library at the University of Washington campus. Like that is.
Yeah,
that is very Hogwartsy.
Which that's based on the Bodleian in Oxford.
It is? Wow. Okay.
They were trying to model it after kind of similar design architecture and elements.
Just beautiful. All right, so let's do then now good, bad, ugly in France.
Well, so good, I would say staying on Mont Saint-Michel was fantastic. The other thing that I would say, and I know, Joe, we've already talked about how you disagree with me, but the Eiffel Tower is awesome.
Especially when did I not say the Eiffel Tower is awesome?
You mentioned that you thought you could take or leave it, and it wasn't that impressive. And I will say
that
during the day,
me? There's no way I said that.
I'm pretty sure you did, but that's fine. But here's what we did: we went at sunset. We walked all the stairs up. We didn't pay for the elevator because that's lame. We walked all the however many hundreds of steps up, and we were there for sunset and seeing the city turn on and all the lights come out, and it was fantastic.
I know exactly what I said, John.
What'd you say?
And I think I was misinterpreted. And if you misinterpreted me, then other people may have misinterpreted me. There's a restaurant in the Eiffel Tower.
Oh.
And I don't think you need to eat at that restaurant. I thought everything about the Eiffel Tower was romantic and beautiful, and the lights at night and
Yeah, I like the light at night.
But we did get an overpriced beer at the top.
Yeah.
That was worth
it. There are times, like it's almost like having, when you have coffee in Venice and you're in the middle of St. Mark Square and then you see the bill and you're like, I only wanted a coffee. I didn't want to buy the place. But then you realize that's a coffee you're going to remember forever. Like I still remember sitting in that little cafe with the doves and just a beautiful place. So yeah, that's cool. Yep. All right. So Eiffel Tower was amazing.
Yeah. The bad, I would say the Louvre. It was not worth it at all. Yeah.
Totally agree.
I didn't go in.
We do agree there.
The train station was cool.
Way too much art.
You can only take so much in before you're like, oh, that's another portrait of a person. Cool.
Yeah.
Another one.
I mean, the architecture is great. I think I enjoyed walking around and looking at the building more than what was in it.
I'm 100% agree. Cheryl did this right. She made a list of like the 5 things we needed to see. We went and saw those things and we got the hell out, which was great. I love modern art. I love the Pompidou. I thought the Pompidou was great.
Yeah, we did not make it to Pompidou. We did do the d'Orsay also, and the d'Orsay is great.
Beautiful. And much more manageable, much smaller. Yeah. All right. And I do this differently.
Definitely France. If there was any place where I wish that we were more leisurely, it was France. I wish that we had spent time just hanging out at a cafe, sitting and enjoying. Probably the best part of France. The first night we got in, the kids were totally wiped out. So my wife and I, we went and just walked up and down the Seine. It was a Saturday evening. It was beautiful weather. Again, got a beer because you might as well. And everyone's out having a picnic, sitting by the water.
Nice.
It was fantastic. We were out for probably 4 hours, just up and down, enjoying it.
That's why it's my favorite city. It's great. All right, we got to do Turkey, and we have to do Iceland fairly quickly. So you didn't spend much time in Turkey, though. You do 24 hours in Turkey?
Yeah, I mean, we got in, our shuttle took us to the hotel, we settled down in the hotel. We really just had a couple hours in the morning, maybe 4 hours in the morning to explore. So walked around and didn't even go in to like the mosque or Hagia Sophia. There is a tour for non-Muslims, but even that felt like we wouldn't be able to enjoy, and we felt rushed. So we walked around the outside, we saw them, and then the old palace is right there, and the gardens have been turned into a public park. So walking through that park was great. It was just very leisurely. We had a great time exploring, and there's good like interpretive information, kind of the history of it and why different things are important, or how the reason this part of the park does this or has this in it, as well as some art and some other things. And so leisurely stroll through the park. And then we went to the Grand Bazaar and looked at a bunch of cheap things. My son was laughing, "Oh, Dad, there's $50 Rolexes here." I'm like, "No, there are not."
But it sounds like, I mean, just hearing your voice, it sounds like you go back for longer. You go back on a longer trip.
To Istanbul, yeah, I'd stay for a couple of days. I didn't, it wasn't that, I don't know. We were right in the middle of Old Town. We were staying 3 blocks from the Hagia Sophia. We were right there in the middle of it, and it was cool. You could spend a day exploring it. I think that it felt foreign enough that we were a little bit unsure and kind of discombobulated as far as how to compose ourselves and interact with people there. I would go if we were doing part of a tour and we were going to go out to see more architectural or archaeological sites. If we were going to stop there for a couple of days and then go out to, Antioch or some of the other places where they've done digs. My wife actually did a dig in Israel a couple of years ago, so she's got a passion for seeing stuff like that. So we would maybe do it if we were rolling it into other things, but I wouldn't just go hang out in Istanbul.
Carol, my kids went, and some of the biblical places, Ephesus and other places, like seeing these places that, you've heard about, you've read about, and then you're standing there in all this antiquity. She thought was really, really neat. But you're right. You're not in Western Europe anymore. I mean, that was a whole different piece of the tour. But it's funny. Now, let's fly to Iceland. So now you're in Iceland, and I feel like for me, Iceland felt so comfortable and easy.
Yeah, we actually our plan of attack when we landed. So we basically tried to sleep on the flight over, and then we woke up at what was equivalent to maybe 3:30 in the morning, but it was mornings and we were going to go. So the first thing we did was we stopped at the Iceland Costco, and stock up on road trip snacks, because the plan was to be in the car all day. And then headed out. Unfortunately, like I said, the car broke down halfway out to so there's the plan was to do the whole Golden Circle, which if you stop at a couple sites and are diligent, you can make in about 6 hours.
Yeah, can you tell people what the Golden Circle is?
Yeah, so there's kind of a ring road that goes all the way around the island, and the Golden Circle is kind of an interior road. And then there's a continental divide runs right through the middle of the island, and so there's this cool fissure and kind of natural area. I forget what it's called. I'm terrible about this. I'm sorry. And then there's a geyser and kind of a hot spring area, and then Gullfoss Falls, which is probably what you were talking about, Joe, the giant waterfall.
Incredible.
And that's kind of all the way out at the end of the Golden Circle. And then we ended up doing that route, but then we drove straight back rather than continuing around.
That's what we did too. Drove out to the falls and came straight back. Yeah.
And then we got back and we had a little bit of time to drive around Reykjavik and explore and, walked up and down some streets and some people watching. But there wasn't really an agenda other than just kind of get a feel for it.
Enough time for a good, bad, ugly, or no, not really?
Not really. I mean, make sure you have code fridge. That's all of it.
Yeah, well, that's important.
And I thought those falls were worth it. Those were some of the most beautiful waterfalls I've ever seen.
Yeah, amazing.
And the fissures that were right out there were also beautiful. I felt like I was back in Yellowstone with all the fissures going off. That was great. Well, sounds horrible, John. Sounds like a rut.
Right. How many?
26
days
right
off
now.
Work?
Yeah.
Vacationing?
If you were going to go back to one of these countries first, I know they're all your children, but which one would you go back to first?
I'd go bact to France. I would spend more time in Paris. And we were in Normandy for 2 nights, and I don't know that I needed that much more time, but it was really cool, and I would have been a little bit more diligent. We went to the American cemetery, and we went to some D-Day sites, and there's a certain point where like, oh, it's another German bunker. Like some of it gets
Right.
old, but at the same time, you could spend time just kind of soaking it in more.
It's another German bunker. Cheryl and I, as we were going through Bavaria, we had this, we called it ABC, Crystal. We called it AB. Did I tell you about ABC? We just walk in and we go ABC, which was another beautiful church. Like, I can't tell you how many gorgeous churches we saw, but by midway through the tour, I'm like, I don't need to see another gorgeous church because it was great. So another German bunker, it's like a AGB, I guess. Yeah.
Interesting.
Good stuff. All right, let's finish this up because we got the gear of the day. So this helps you. Let me see if I got this right. Get from point A to point B. Was that my fair there?
Gets you where you're going.
Gets you where you're going.
Where you're going.
So that sounds like some kind of map. Gets you where you're going. But then the second piece does not line up with that. What was the second clue?
It helps you enjoy people watching and your surroundings.
We totally forgot a selfie stick. You seem like a selfie kind of guy.
Must admit, I've known John a little bit for a while, and he doesn't seem like a selfie stick kind of guy, Crystal. I just can't imagine John walking around.
No, actually, my son has ridiculously long arms. He is our selfie stick.
Go gadget
yeah, that's
arms.
me and our family.
Yeah, I'm go gadget arms.
I don't know. I don't have one. Crystal, you got one?
Roller skates. No.
All right, I'll say all birds. All birds. Right. All right, John, what do we got? What's our gear of the day?
So it's an Apple Watch, and specifically when you're running maps and you're walking, it'll tap on your wrist to tell you when you need to turn or go straight, left or right. And so you could put in where you want to go, and then you don't need it out in front of you. You're not paying attention.
Beautiful.
To anything. You don't look like a tourist.
Off. True,
it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I assume other smartwatches can do it too, but the Apple Watch is great. You just put it in, and then you just feel for the tap. But you're able to engage your surroundings so much more because you're not paying attention to your phone. You don't have it out. It's not waving it around for someone to grab or.
Yeah.
What a great idea!
It's
so fun. Cheryl just got an Apple Watch, and I didn't even think about using it that way. And you're right, there's nothing more frustrating than I don't know where I'm going. I'm not really paying attention because I have to pay attention to my phone the whole time. And I want to be present in this beautiful place.
And not get hit by a car. Yeah, you want to not get hit because you're looking at the road. It is interesting. Yeah, I turned that feature off, but I guess it's annoying if you already know where you're going. But it can be helpful if you don't know where you're going. Totally didn't think about that.
Well, I like it, Crystal. I also like the tap on your wrist. Just so you're present. And then what do you got to do? Then you just glance at your watch then to see if it's right or left.
No, it's a slow tap or a fast tap. You don't even
really?
have to
see?
You have to look at all.
At all.
I could see myself still getting it messed up. I don't know.
Like,
that's our gear of the day.
Honey.
And people will find it at stackingventures.com/GOTD. We'll put the Apple Watch specifically with the travel emphasized in the Gear of the Day store. Adventures, it's your turn now. John gave you a ton of places to go.
Thank you, John.
Crystal, if anybody wants to share their 5 minutes about France, about Germany, about Iceland, about Turkey, pretty much about anywhere.
Anywhere. We want you to claim your 5 minutes of fame at www.stackingadventures.com/mystory. So get on there.
Did you really start that with www. How old are you, Crystal?
16. I'm a teenager. So please head to stackingadventures.com/mystory. Even tell Joe to shove it or, whatever you want to say. We want to hear from you.
Cheryl and Crystal both do regularly. Yeah. And OG and Doug. I feel like I'm surrounded by wonderful people who always tell me to shove it. All right. John, thank you so much for not shoving it today, for joining us.
Can't thank you enough. Yes. Giving our ears a break from Joe for a little bit. Thank you.
I love the fact that your family's a bunch of nerds and they love seeing all this history and all these cool places. Just, not going to the same old place. The fact that they wanted to see, you had me at Gutenberg. Let's put it that way. Yeah. Good stuff. All right. That's going to do it, Adventure. She's Crystal.
And I'm Joe. He's Joe.
And he's John.
And
we'll
John.
see you next time.